Hello, and welcome back to the Magic Garden. Well, we're not really in the Magic Garden today. It's January and it's super cold outside. It's freezing ass, so we're just going to be here in the Anubis studio and chat it up. I grabbed my coffee. I hope you have your coffee too. Today I'd like to talk about when is the best time of year to sow your seeds. I believe this might be my #1 mistake that I made last year, my first year. I sowed seeds sometime before Christmas and went a little crazy. Kind of sowed everything, and I really mean that. Like I put like 6-7 seeds in one little pot. I went a little, alright, I went way overboard. But in doing that, I really learned so much about tomatoes, and I learned what grows best indoors, what grows best outside, what grows better in direct sow. These are all the things I'm hoping that, you know, I get to teach you, or that you can, you know, learn from me along the way. I think it's really super important to have a plan. Because not everything is going to go right the first time, but at least going in it with a little bit better of a plan won't wind you up with a dining room, living room, kitchen, countertop, alright, garage. I went a little crazy. Anyway, so for this little project you're going to need a calendar. I actually grabbed two just to make it a little bit easier for myself, but your calendar is going to be your #1 best friend all year long. It's going to be your plan, it'll be your start and your finish. With this, you will know exactly when to sow your seeds, when to plant them in the ground, when you should expect to harvest, and then along the way, this is why I keep a garden journal, is so that I know exactly what I did last year and I can see all my plans. I saw everything that I did and all the mistakes that I made, and that is really kind of going to guide me in the direction for this year. I'm going to be talking about the garden journal in a whole nother episode coming up, and I hope you come back to see that one, but in the meantime, let's get back to the subject. So, as you saw in the first video, I tried to grow cantaloupe in a place cantaloupe shouldn't grow. I didn't know that certain like vegetables and fruits don't really grow. I mean, yeah, you know, like pineapples and stuff aren't going to grow in Pendleton, Oregon, but you know, you would think that almost every kind of vegetable could grow here, but really it's a whole different climate. And for every area in the United States, we have different climates, different soil, we have different water, we have different everything. And so knowing what grows best in your area really is going to be the key to a great harvest this year. But even more importantly, where do you start with that? Of all the websites that I've kind of seen, as I say later on, I really didn't know where to start, and so today we're going to jump online and I'm going to show you one of my favorite resources in the world, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, and we're going to figure out what your grow zone is, and I'll explain a little bit about your grow zone later on as well. But it's really important to find out what your grow zone is so we can figure out your first and last frost dates of the year. Those are going to be determined on what we do on the calendar later on. So let's go jump on my computer and I will show you one of my favorite resources in the world, okay? Alright, I'll see you in a minute. Bye. So it's kind of truly overwhelming and a little ridiculous, the amount of resources that are out there about gardening online. And the truth is that they never really get you started in the right place. So I fumbled around. I failed a lot last year. If you've been following along on the Beehive, you know that last year was my first garden, and well, anyway, I fell into the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website by necessity. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Certain things weren't growing, and then I found out that the reason that they're not growing is because they don't grow in my area. Well, how in the world do you figure that out? Well, before you can figure out, what kind of seeds you want and you start all this planting and all this stuff, you got to figure out what grows best in your area. So on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, they have a plant hardiness zone map. And as you can see on this map, each one of these lines kind of represents a different zone or a different climate. That could be, anything from their soil, their water quality, air quality. It could just be higher and lower elevations. This map really does tell you exactly what grows best in your area and when you should start planting them. I also like this website because it's everything is really compact. You don't have to really go searching for a ton of information. It really does kind of give it all to you. So all you have to do is enter your zip code and push the find button, and voila, it will tell you exactly what zone you're in. I'm in zone 7A. 7A, according to this, is this green map or this green line right here on the map, and that in itself is some of the best information out there. And why that is because that will open up an entire level of information for you for just your area, not for the world over. So it makes your studying, it makes your research, it makes your kind of curiosity a lot easier to navigate because you only have to go to one place to find that out. Well, once you know what zone you're in, the second bit of information that you're going to need is to ask Google what your last frost date is for the year 2020 for your grow zone. So 2020 last frost dates for zone 7A. My dates are March 22nd through April 3rd. That's when they say the last time we're going to get frost on the ground this year before spring hits. And then it's going to start getting cold again, and our last frost date of the year is going to be October 29th through November 15th. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this date and this date, and between those two, we are going to calendar for what is step 3, which is when to sow, when to plant, and when to harvest your fruits and vegetables for your new magic garden. Well, in that as well, more information will start coming out, but this will also help us space out some of our sowing, some of our planting, so that we don't have to harvest all at one time. We can harvest a few here and a few there so that we can extend our entire grow season. So, now that we've established both step 1 and 2, which is determining what your grow zone is, and also your last possible frost dates, now we can calendar and kind of project when the best time is to sow your seeds. The rule of thumb goes that you should take your first frost date and go 6 to 8 weeks back on your calendar. This will give you enough time to not only get your plant germinated, but also give it a nice hardy base before you put it outside. You want to do this before there's any threat or danger of it dying of frost, which is what happened to me when Mother Nature last year. Anyway, this will give you a great timeline, and it will also help you so you can spread out your sowing so that you can harvest a little bit at a time and extend your harvest season. Well, not only do you want to give it 6 to 8 weeks, but the germination stage also can take anywhere between 3 to 10 days. I personally prefer to put my seeds directly into dirt versus maybe germinating them on a paper towel. So for me, it's about a week. I always go 1 week back. So why don't you grab your coffee, your calendar, a pen, and let's figure out what your timeline is. All right, let's do this. Okay, so I got this monster-sized calendar over at the Dollar Tree. You don't have to spend a lot of money, you just need a calendar. But I kind of did this so it made it a little bit easier to see. Hopefully you can. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my last frost date, possible frost date, which is April the 3rd, and I'm going to write that date down. So this is last possible frost date. And then I'm also going to mark the March 22nd date right here as first possible frost date. So after that, it's just a matter of like simple math. You just have to go back 6 to 8 weeks from your date. So let's start again at April 3rd and let's go back 6 weeks. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the last sow date before frost. And if we go back 2 more weeks to 8 weeks, we're looking at February 7th. This is 6 weeks. This is last frost. Okay, sow date, 8 weeks. All right. Go back to March, we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to go from the 22nd back 6 weeks. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be the first sow date frost, 6 weeks. And we're going to go back 2 more weeks, which is back in January 26th. So this will be first possible sow date. Now, I'm going to go back 1 more week just because I want to be able to give myself on all these levels a week of germination date. So germination date 1, see, this is 8 weeks. 8 weeks. This would be germination frost 6 weeks. And we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to go last frost germination 6 weeks. And the same thing here, go back to January, the 31st is going to be the last sow frost, 8 weeks. So, I mean, really basically what I did was I just set 6 and 8 week increments back to figure those dates out and just kind of gave it a week. So if I've done, you know, all of this correctly, it looks like since we are in the mid-range of right in here in January, I'll scoot that back a little bit, right in here in January, it looks like I can start sowing my seeds at any time between now and the 21st of February before I would need to put them in the ground. So I can do, we can start sowing any time between now and the end of February in order to get a good harvest for spring. And also too, you can also go into March, but this is the first possible frost date. So that, your first possible frost date, anytime after that date is the date that you want to think about planting your garden. But again, we're just going to get started back here and just count 6 to 8 weeks back from your first and your last frost dates, and those will give you your timeline between what date you can start sowing and what dates you can actually plant. So in our next episode, we will discuss a little bit more about this, but in the meantime, I think we've just got step 3 done. Man, I'm feeling really accomplished today. Not only have we figured out step 1, step 2, but we figured out step 3. We know what zone you're in, we also know what your frost dates are, and now we have figured out a great timeline to when to start to sow your seeds. Also too, we kind of dipped in a little bit and we kind of touched base on when we're going to start planting that, but that's going to be a whole nother episode down the line. My very next episode, we're going to start talking about what we're going to plant and the time for germination and the time it takes to actually grow and harvest them, so we know what to sow and when. Some vegetables do much better in early spring and some do much better in later spring depending on the weather. So that's kind of a touchy subject. You guys know I kind of messed up a few things last year, but even more so, wait till you see my seed collection. Well, an intervention might be in my future, I think. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. Give us a thumbs up. In the comments, let us know what your grow zone turned out to be. What are your frost dates? And was this information helpful to you? I really want to bring you some good quality, content. I really want to give information that's helpful. So if there's something out there that I can do to help facilitate that, I'm always here for that. But again, thank you so much for joining me. Thumbs up, subscribe, ding ding, all that kind of fun stuff, and I'll see you on the next episode. All right, till next time, bye-bye.